what really stands in the way most of our success is a skill set. And it takes investment of time and expertise to be able to hone and learn those skills. I try and talk people out of, if someone's in their like 19 years old and they come to me, I want to be a gym owner. I was like, don't be a gym owner yet. Like, wait, go work for somebody else. Go learn the ropes. Go practice your craft and learn this stuff, and then progress from there. So that first year, all I did was focus on business development. I wasn't like worried about how to get results with clients. What I was working on is how do I develop more business? I think that the people get usually stuck by this thinking that, hey, if I learn another training exercise, if I get another certification, if I just get really, really good at my craft and have the best workouts, that I'm going to have the best business. And that couldn't be further from the truth. So I think if people want to break out of that, they have to understand that when they sign a lease, they graduated from being personal trainer to being business owner. You're no longer a personal trainer. Doesn't mean you can't train people, but do understand that you're doing everyone a disservice if you don't learn and understand business.
This is the Reinforce Your Gym podcast with your host, Dustin Vogel. This show is about arming gym owners with the tools, strategies, and lessons they need to take their business to the next level. That way, they can make a greater impact in their community. Now, let's get to work and reinforce your gym.
All right, guys, welcome in for another episode of the Reinforce Your Gym podcast. I got a special treat for you all, a gentleman that we just talked about, and we both have an affiliation to pro wrestling. So excited to touch on that throughout this interview. But today we're privileged to have Vince Gabriele. Okay, so guys, if you don't know him, you might be living under a rock. I've been following him for over 10 years. And basically, he's one of the most distinguished guys in the fitness industry. He's got over two decades experience. He actually started as an offensive lineman at Temple University, where his passion for the weight room led him into personal training. And he honed his skills at one of my also friends, Todd Durkin's Fitness Quest 10 in San Diego. So correct me if any of this is not right, Vince, but these are just my notes to write down. So yeah, then you went on to work with NFL athletes and you actually helped create the NFL Combine Prep programs. So that's definitely something cool that I know a lot of the coach gym owners will be, impressed to hear. And then you and your wife decided in 2007, go back to Jersey where you're from and open up your first gym. And you basically grew it to 7 figures and beyond, and it became a blueprint for many people in the industry. And so beyond you doing that, you now mentor hundreds of gym owners on growing their business. And on top of that, you also have a few well-known books in our industry, The Ultimate Guide to Marketing for Your Gym, The Ultimate Guide to Sales for Your Gym, and one of the newer ones, I think, is The Ultimate Guide to Small Group Training, right? Is that the newest one of the?
Sir, yeah, that's the new one to go.
Okay. So I'm excited nonetheless to have Vince Gabriele. Welcome, Vince.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate you having me. Thanks so much.
Yes. So guys, again, Vince's specialty obviously is that he's what I call a coach gym owner, which is a coach kind of like minded gym owner that came up through that, not a business investor that came with a bag of money and just decided one day it'd be cool to own a gym. Those are, to me, the best gym owners because they came up the right way and they learned how to train people first, then they learn business second. And so that way you have the most valuable skill, which is relationship building and getting clients results. And then you just learn how to amplify that with your business skills, right? So in terms of just what we want to do today here, Vince, is obviously pick your brain and get as much valuable golden nuggets for the gym owners listening. But I guess when you look back on that, I want to just like look at your story. What do you think was like the most impactful years where you really like had super speed growth, like where you saw the most skills acquired? Again, you've done so much. Like what was those years that you're like, man, I learned a lot during this time?
Yeah, I think it comes in a couple phases, right? The first phase, I'll take you through a trainer to gym owner perspective, right? So the first phase was trainer, and I got an internship with Todd, and I was kind of learning the ropes and learning from them. But I started to really get into a guy named Mike Boyle. And I used to go and get, this is back in the DVDs, the DVD days, right? And I would go home and I would watch Boyle DVDs. Like I would work all day long from 8 o'clock at night until midnight. I would watch these DVDs and I would just come home to it. I was just in such love. Like I love this industry so much. Like I grew up, as you said, like I grew up as a trainer. I'm a transformed business guy. I didn't start as a business guy. I started as a trainer, and I had every certification known to man. Like I am a purist at heart with this stuff. But really just learning from a guy named Mike Boyle, where I was able to kind of start shaping my own philosophy. Right, I was learning from him. I was learning from all these different places. And that kind of first couple of years where I started just focusing on training clients, those were really important years of my education and informing my philosophy of what believe how fitness should be done. And I think that was very valuable time where I didn't have the pressure of like running a business. I didn't have the pressure of I was like living in California, so I had an apartment and I had a rent, but I didn't have like big life expenses and stuff like that. Like my full focus, everything I did went into my growth as a coach and growth as a trainer. And I look at that as like and all I did was learn about training. And I mean, I had somewhat of a social life. I lived in San Diego at the beach, so that was cool, right? But it was like go train clients all day long, learn about training as much as I can, have some fun on the weekends. But that was like my life. And I think that every person has to go through that period to learn skills, right? Because that's like, this better than most, right? What really stands in the way most of our success is a skill set. And it takes investment of time and expertise to be able to hone and learn those skills. So that was kind of the first one. It was just that period of not, and that's what I do. I try and talk people out of if someone's in their like 19 years old and they come to me, I want to be a gym owner. I was like, don't be a gym owner yet. Like, wait, go work for somebody else. Go learn the ropes. Go practice your craft and learn this stuff. And then progress from there. So I love that kind of period of time. Now, the second period of time was before I opened my gym. I had this very interesting year. So I moved back to my parents' house in 2007. And I was looking for spaces, and there were spaces were really hard to find in New Jersey. And I wanted to rent a space, but I couldn't find anything. So I spent the first year of my business career working out of my truck. And so I loaded my truck with kettlebells and sleds and weights. And my day consisted of this. I would train someone in my mom's basement. Then I would drive to a local gym down the street and train someone there. Then I would spend my entire afternoons training kids on fields. I used to drive my truck. I had a Toyota Tacoma with a hatchback on it. And I used to drive my truck this is how connected I was. I would drive my truck down onto the track. So my truck would be on the track and I'd be spraying my equipment out. I had the prowlers and all that stuff. I brought my own weights. And, but that first year, all I did was focus on business development, right? So I had done a lot of the work. I didn't feel like I knew everything as a trainer, but I really knew a lot at that point. I wasn't like worried about how to get results with clients. But what I was working on is how do I develop more business? Even though I didn't have a facility, I still was out generating business. I was going and talking at the local PAL leagues. I was going and talking to the booster clubs. I was going and talking to sports teams. I was running warm-ups and clinics and stuff like that. And that was like my year of business development where I learned community-based marketing. And I was like, today it's like everyone wants to have someone run their ads for them and, just like check the box. And I think that this community marketing thing, like, it'll never go away. As long as you have a gym on Main Street, like you're gonna need to do some community marketing. Yeah, maybe you'll find something like Facebook in 2015 where you can put a piece of dog crap on Facebook and you get 50-cent leads. That's fine. That doesn't last though. And so that year was like a year for me where I really progressed as a business owner, and it wasn't really from necessarily learning, it was really from doing. It was just trial and error and throwing stuff against the wall, and I don't recommend everyone doing this, right? There's things you can learn, right? But I was just trying to, make it work, back then. So those are 2 periods of, like, that first period of learning from a coach's perspective, and then the second period of, like, the start of my business owner life, but really understanding how to get clients, right? Because that's the biggest, most important thing in the beginning is like we get so caught up with systems manuals and equipment and all this stuff, and we distract ourselves from the main thing. And the main thing is you're not going to get out of this initial stage of a business owner if you don't get new customers.
Yes. Yeah, there's so much that it sounds like you learn. Like one of the big ones, communication. When you're coaching, you're communicating coaching cues and communicating expectations and all these things. And then when you're trying to do business development, you're communicating your offer and you're marketing yourself and you're telling people about what you do. So that's obviously a big theme there. But yeah, I hear you in that like I too have been in the game 20 years. And so like we came through that like transition of like no social media, then getting our hands on social media, understand the power of it, where people who now start where social media was there from day one, it's really hard for them to go out and talk to people belly to belly because they're like, why? I have this powerful thing called social media, but they're going to lose out on a big market share of the guy that is going to go out and do more of that belly to belly, marketing in their local area. And I just see like people are just like so hesitant, especially again, a younger gym owner. They'd rather just start a new social media platform. They're like, oh, I'll just do Facebook and TikTok rather than Facebook and go talk to people. That makes me highly uncomfortable. And that's kind of how I see it, is like social media is such a gift and a curse for the new generation that it amplifies your message. But then people are like extremely socially awkward when they get in front of someone face to face because they're just used to doing it in a digital way, right? And it's like, oh, I forgot how to talk to real people now. I only know how to slide into DMs.
Yeah,
So
and here's the thing, like, I own a marketing agency. It's a digital agency, right? And so we run ads and build websites and do all that stuff. So I'm not saying you shouldn't do that. Like, that is a very important piece of the business. But I teach a concept. I don't know if you've heard me teach this before, but I teach a concept called the marketing glove. And that concept is basically the glove is a visual. I think a glove has 5 fingers. It's a visual of having multiple ways to generate leads. And a lot of gym owners, they kind of get hung up on one way when one of my mentors, Dan Kennedy, says the worst number in business is 1. And so what you want to do is kind of look at a balanced approach to marketing and look at how am I generating leads, and then you can get into, I kind of break it down into 3 areas, right? There's fingers on the glove, which is, think of a lead source, right? Fingers on the glove could be digital fingers, right? That is your website, that is your Facebook ads. Another one could be a community fingers, right? Which is like a joint venture relationship, like we were talking about earlier. And then the third type of finger is what I call internal fingers. And this is like stuff that you do inside of the gym, right? This is like your referral system would be an internal finger. Your email marketing would be an internal finger. Your social media would be an internal finger. And so I like push my guys to have 5 fingers on the glove, like one, at least 5 things. And again, if you're listening to this and you only have one thing, like go to 2 and then go to 3. But
yeah.
I push my guys to have like, a fully loaded marketing glove that has a balanced attack and a balanced approach to getting their content. It creates a much more stable, much less risky way to market your gym.
Yes. Yes. So that's kind of why I wanted to pick your brain first, is like
Yeah.
common mistakes that you see gym owners make. And that could be one of them, is that they're only doing one or no marketing. But if you could share 2 or 3 that you've seen this pattern over and over again across the industry, many owners, what are those common mistakes?
Yeah. So the marketing kind of triangle that I follow is market, message, media. And this is straight out of the Kennedy playbook, right? So the three parts are a really well-run marketing department has a clear target market, has the right message to the market, and then has, as I just said, the fingers on the glove that's getting the message out there. The first mistake I think that people make is they stop at they think that knowing how old their target market is really knowing their market. And it really is just scraping the surface. And the job of the marketing is to enter the conversation already going on in the prospect's mind. And you don't really know that if you don't know the person. Now, when I was a 29-year-old trainer and I was sitting down with a 45-year-old mom that was struggling to lose weight because she just had a kid, and I tell her she's got to eat 6 meals a day, and I do all this stuff, right? And I start getting frustrated and wondering why the hell this person can't eat this way. And then all of a sudden, fast forward 20 years, and I have 3 kids flying around in my house, right? It's not easy. But I have that empathy. And I think that's one of the most important skills in marketing is empathy. And empathy and sympathy are different. Sympathy is having pity for one's misfortune. That's feeling sorry for people. Oh, this person has so much going on in their life. I feel so sorry for them. No, that's not going to make you any money. But empathy will. Empathy enables you to see things through their eyes. So you can see what they're going through. So you can see what their mindset is like. And so the first mistake I make is in this target market, they don't know their people well enough. And since they don't know them well enough, they don't know the words that need to be written. They don't know the videos that need to be made. They don't need the offers that need to be created to be able to get someone to look at that and be like, that's for me. And I think I've had some okay success in my second career as a gym consultant. And I can pinpoint my slight success to being one of you. Like that is like, I know it so well because I am that. Like there's lots of times I sit down and write an email. I'm just writing to myself in 2014. Like I lived it. Like I was just been there. So, so the person that's marketing. So the mistake, just staying on the mistake is not knowing the person well enough. And the first thing is just start to become obsessed with the market. Don't become obsessed with the product and what you do and your training program and all of that. Your program is probably plenty good. But what is going to get you to really win in marketing is getting deep inside of the mind of the person. I my poor wife, she's the brunt of my market research. And there was one night where I got her pretty liquored up. She asked me to make her a vodka and lemonade. And I decided, the good husband I am, to make her a vodka lemonade with sugar in it. And she drinks it down and she's like, oh my God, this is delicious. And she starts slugging these drinks. And she's like, make me another one. I was like, all right, yeah. And I made her another one. I made her 3, 8 o'clock, passed out. Got. And she totally sleeps through her workout, totally misses her workout. And she has date night with me that night. And she's all like, she's all disheveled. She's like, I had the worst freaking day. It was awful. Like kids are all, I was so impatient with the kids. And I was like, well, why? She's like, because you poisoned me last night. She's like, no. I was like, she was like, really? It's because I missed my workout. And I missed my workout and it just screwed up my whole day. It's just like, I didn't do this. I was, and I took out like my phone and I started taking notes.
Yes.
And I created this graphic out of that conversation. And it's, what if I do? What if I don't? And it's, what is my life like when I do work out? And what is my life like when I don't work out? And I did them side by side with a picture of her in the middle. And that was like a PowerPoint slide that I created. But the point of all of this is that you have to be curious about what's going on in their lives. And maybe it's not your spouse, or maybe it's just other clients that you have conversations with. But I have this unbelievable curiosity about the people that I'm marketing to. And I think that's the first thing, that mistake people make, is they don't have enough curiosity about knowing everything about that person and what makes them tick and what makes them, staring at the ceiling at night. And here's the thing, I wrote that book on small group training. There's a whole big chapter on marketing on small group training. The first line in the chapter says, if you want to market small group training, don't talk about small group training. How do I market my small group? Everyone wants to talk about the ratio. Everyone wants to talk about the equipment. Everyone wants to talk about the programming. But at the end of the day, what you really want to talk about is the person and the problems they have, the fears they have, the desires that they have, the frustrations that they have. That is all the things that people need to know. And that's a mistake that I see people make. It's just not going deep enough into that market.
I love that. And I think one of the things that's like constantly reminded to me is just like most of the time really strong marketers are just hyper aware that like a lot of people just have conversations and then they just go through it and they fast forward to the next thing. And were aware enough to say, she's dropping marketing gold right now. I'm smart to capture this. And that's the big call out I want to give the gym owners. Like, there's gold in your gym every day, and it's the words coming out of your client's mouth. You're just not writing it down. You're not being aware that that is what's being exchanged in the air around you, right? So it's like, write those words down. Those are headlines. Those are emails. Those are book ad copy. Those are text blasts. Like, and just use the client's words and pain points is what you did there, right?
Yeah, well said. I'll give you one more quick one. One of my most successful headlines that I use in the gym space was, I feel better at 60 than I did at 50. And that came from a conversation with one of our clients who had just turned 60, and I was talking to him on his 60th birthday. And he says, I gotta tell you, I feel better at 60 than I did at 50. And I was like, bam. I like literally left the conversation and I went to the computer. I pulled out a piece of paper and I just wrote that down really quick. He's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, No, don't worry about it." Like, and then I actually created this whole campaign where I got this piece of it was like a cutout that said, "I feel," and we put in the numbers. And so we gave them and it says, "I feel better at 45 than I did at 35." And we had all this campaign of people holding up the sign.
Love it.
That they're and it was like huge. It was like people were loving it because that's what people really want. Like, they want to feel younger.
Yes.
They want to feel better. Yes, weight loss is important, but really at the end of the day, it's just like, hey, can we reverse time a little bit?
Yes.
And if you can make someone feel 10 years younger, you're doing that for your part there.
Genius. All right. Well, the next question I was going to dive into with you is, there's a lot of owners who just are like stuck in Groundhog Day. They're just doing the same thing day in, day out. Their annual revenue and profits are the same year in, year out. And I want for them 2025 to be the breakthrough year. So when you see a gym owner that's kind of plateaued revenue wise, that you look at their 3-year revenue and it's pretty much been the same, how do you break through that? What do you coach that owner to do to get them to their next level of revenue?
Yeah. So I wrote a short book called the 4 Stages of Fitness Business Success. And it basically outlines these different stages where you start in stage 1, and think stage 1 is kind of like it's just you and maybe a part-time trainer, right? And you're doing all the work. And if all of a sudden, you're sick that day, the business completely implodes, right? And then stage 2 is like you get to a point where you have a couple trainers and maybe you're still on the floor a lot, but you're not doing as much on the floor, and you got a couple full-time trainers that are doing some work. And then stage 3 is kind of like this organization where like you're the CEO, you're the head of the marketing, you're probably not doing much training at all, and you have some people in key roles like a head trainer, maybe an ops person or something like that. And then stage 4, I look at like you're scaling. You're like opening multiple locations and you're doing that. So I look at that, and if you look at that framework, there's specific skill sets that need to be developed to be able to get to the next level, right? And so in stage 1, I said this earlier in the call, if you do not in stage one, when you're starting out, if you don't get to a critical mass of customers, you will never ever get to stage two because you won't have money to hire anybody. If you don't have clients, you don't have money, and can't hire anybody if you don't have any money. And so the bottleneck is that in the very, very beginning. So so I'm trying to personalize this for someone listening. Like if that's you, you're in stage one and it's just you and no one else. And the bottleneck is you're feeling burned out. You're feeling this. You need to understand and learn, one, how to get new customers, and two, ensure that your pricing is right. Because even if you get enough customers, if your pricing is wrong, you won't make the money that you want to make. So you got to kind of check that box. In stage two, now we're kind of getting into the leadership and management of people, right? It's hiring and finding the right type of people. It's developing your culture. It's that kind of next level where you're still going to obviously be marketing and selling, but now it's more about the skill sets that you need to develop as a leader, if you will, leader and manager of people. And then the third one is more building systems, right? It's just like, all right, you got to build the system. So now we can create repeatable, reliable processes to be able to take the things that we've done and do it over and over and over again. So it's not this wash of things. So I think at the end of the day, when someone is stuck, depending on any level, it's usually just identifying what is the skill set that gym owner needs to learn, or what is that skill set that the gym owner needs to hire, right? Because in stage three, they might very well not have the skill set, and they might just be like, all right, I just need to hire someone to do the sales. Like, I'm not that great at it, and at this point in my business, I can afford the business. There's a concept called who, not how, that was created by my friend Dean Jackson, right? And who, not how means not thinking about how you're going to get this done, but thinking about who you can get it to do it for you. So it really just depends on where you're at in your business. But at the end of the day, I think you can very easily pinpoint to a specific skill set that needs to be learned. And in my experience, in our space, one is marketing, right? That's the big one. That's the big skill set that a lot of guys can do a decent job of keeping customers and having good retention and stuff like that. But it's the skill set of acquiring customers that seems to be the bottleneck. And that's why I think people are obsessed with Facebook ads and all these other things, because it's like, it's an easy way to solve that problem that I have no idea how to do. But at the end of the day, I think that it's a really important skill for gym owners to learn, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's weird. It's like a mindset thing, because it's like, how did you start as a trainer, then go into learning marketing and learning sales and acquire these skills? But then like other owners just like stop at trainer. Like, what's your take? What's that mindset that's like blocking them? That they're like, I can't get into the business side. I just want to be on the floor. I love it over here, and I don't like doing all this other stuff. Gym owners, let's be real. You don't love lead follow-up, and that's why I started Gym Reinforcement, so you can pass it over to us, because that's probably not why you started a gym. That's not what you love to do in business, is to chase leads down all day long. Well, hey, hand that over to me and my team of remote sales reps. We're going to text them, call them, email them, social media, DM them. We're going to do all the channels so that you don't got to worry about it, and you know they're going to get reached out to quickly. And that is what we do at Gym Reinforcements. Now, here's the thing. There's a lot of AI and bots and automations out there that can reach out to your leads, but let's be honest, it's not very good, and people could tell right away. You probably would rather to have human to human customer service from start to finish, meaning from when they opt in to when they get serviced by your coaches. We want to have that exist throughout the whole client journey. So let us step in, let us engage your leads, let us sell them for you. And that way you can do what you do best and serve them and get them results. So if you want to book a call, go to gymreinforcements.com, and we'll talk soon.
I think it's what did it for me was someone told me to read the E-Myth Revisited very early in my business career. And that was a very helpful thing. I'm sure you've read, but basically for those listening, the E-Myth Revisited teaches you there's the concept called working on your business versus working in your business. And the goal is that you start working in your business and then eventually you work more on your business than in. And it talked about the importance of learning and understanding business and not becoming obsessed with your product and what you do, and it separated the two. And so I was lucky. I think I got lucky that someone told me to read it. I went and read it. I wasn't even a reader at the time, but I was like, I think I listened to it on CD, dating myself again. I actually listened to the book on the way car ride, Vanessa, and I drove from San Diego back to New Jersey, and I listened to it on CDs all the way home. So I I read the book before I even opened a gym. And so I think I got lucky there. Um, but I think that that is it. I think that the people get usually stuck by this thinking that, hey, if I learn another, training exercise, if I get another certification, if I just get really, really good at my craft and have the best workouts, that I'm going to have the best business. And that couldn't be further from the truth. So I do believe that is what it is. And I think if people want to break out of that, they have to understand that when they sign a lease, they graduated from being personal trainer to being business owner. And with that responsibility becomes the responsibility to learn new things.
Yeah.
And so I think that they have to kind of take on, like, I always tell people, like, when you sign the lease, you're no longer a personal trainer.
Yes.
If you want to be a personal trainer, you go stay a personal trainer. But if you sign that lease, doesn't mean you can't train people, but do understand that you're doing everyone a disservice if you don't learn and understand business.
And I love that you're pointing that out as like the ceremonial moment, because I think that's when we register things. Like, why do we have graduations and weddings and funerals? Like, we as humans do better when there's a ceremony around something
Yeah.
that's changing. So it's like, that's a great way to say it, is like when the lease is signed, you cannot be a trainer. If you want to be a trainer, go get a job somewhere. But now lives are on the line, your employees, your clients, yours and your families. Like, it's time to step up and learn business.
Yep.
And so that's definitely a big one. I know in the book they call it being the technician, right? Like the doer.
Yeah.
I'm going to do more. That's how I add value. But you have limited amount of hours, and there's only so much you can do until you're capped out. So that's a mindset thing. I love that. What are other mindsets that you see that like stop owners from to getting to thriving? Like, they're stuck in struggling and they're not getting to thriving. I'm hoping this is a good awareness talk we're giving a lot of people to self-reflect and say, oh, I think that way, or I'm like that and I need to change, right? Are there any other mindsets that come to mind that you see?
Yeah, I got a bunch. I teach so much mindset, to my guys, but I think that I teach my kids this all the time is so my son is 9, and since he was 3 years old, I used to have this thing with him, um, where if he left his light on in his room, I would yell down the stairs, not like yell, I don't usually raise my voice, very rarely. Um, and I say, "Hey, Joey, you'll never believe what happened." And the first few times he looked at me, he's like, "What? What happened?" I was like, "You left your light on." And he looked at me, he's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Well, that's your light." And he's like, "All right." And he went upstairs and he turned it off. And the next day he left it on again. And I said, "Hey, Joey, you'll never believe what happened." And then, a week later, he's across the street playing at his neighbors, and I yell out the window, "Hey, Joey, you'll never believe it." And he's got to come walking across the street into the house and go turn his light off. And I just created this concept called constant gentle pressure, where I am teaching him that it is his responsibility for his light. And I think that the moment we get into the blame game, we're done. The moment you blame who's president, the moment you blame the economy, the moment you blame your town that you're in, that your town doesn't spend money on personal training, the moment you start blaming that the industry, no one wants to work anymore, it's like you're done. You've taken all power away from yourself. And so the power comes with owning it, right? If you own it, you can fix it. If you own it, you can change it. And so the first mindset I always teach is just responsibility. It's just like, it's on you. It's on you. It's just like, you are the problem and you are the solution. But if you all of a sudden look that the problem is anywhere else except yourself, then you're going to have an issue. So that's one of the first ones. The second one is mindset is that, this is another, I get a lot of my leadership stuff from parenting books. But this next one, is called, lowest heart rate. And, the book I read was called Scream Free Parenting. And it basically says that if you, want to win in parenting, whenever you're about to parent your kid, have the lowest heart rate in the room. And what that meant is like, if your heart rate can be lower than your kids, then you're probably going to make the right decisions in working with them. And so life is shaped by the decisions that we make. And we typically don't make great decisions when our heart rate is really high, when we're in high anxiety, when we're stressed. And so one of the things that I've taught myself, right? And one of the things that I've taught my clients, one of the things I teach my staff, right, is how do you maintain control over your emotions? And part of that is understanding and that knowing that problems will happen. Problems are coming. You ain't getting out of this life as a business career without experiencing and having problems. And so when they come, it's like, now, not this, oh my God, this happened, oh, this happened. No, it is this thing that happened. Now, pause. What am I going to do to fix it? What am I going to do to make this better? What am I going to do? And so it's that stoic mindset, if you will, whatever it is, but it's really about controlling your emotions. And the purpose behind it all is decisions. Like, I don't think decision-making is talked enough in this world. Like, Chip and Dan Heath wrote a great book called Decisive. Like, I don't think people realize, like, how important decision-making is in your life. And we don't typically make good decisions when we're high anxiety, right? We make good decisions when we're calm, when we're clear, when we had a moment to think. And that's what I always teach people is that control over your emotional state is going to be everything. Tony Robbins has a great line. It's like, the number one chokehold on a business is the psychology of the owner. That is like, man, that, like, yeah. And it's like why I teach so much mindset. I don't teach a ton of mindset externally, right? I'll do it on these podcasts and stuff like that, but you're not going to see a ton of my, emails and stuff like that. I will do some once in a while, but I tend to do it more inside the lines when people are already with me, and teach mindset from there. But it's so important, man. It is such a big piece of it. But those are a couple that, I see people, struggling with. I'll give you one more, and because I usually teach one concept each mastermind meeting that we do, and we do 3 a year, and I've been doing it for 6 years. So it's like 18 concepts, that I have. But one recently is, which one do I want to give you right now? One recently was called So What, right? And so what is basically helps you put things in perspective. And so when something happens, typically it's not the end of the world, right? Usually, a client canceled. And a lot of times what we do is we have this mindset of, one client cancels, now they're all going to cancel. And now I have this big problem. I have to change everything I'm doing. And it's just like, if you can put a so what next to it and then move to the next thing. So saying so what, it just enables you to move to the next thing. Doesn't mean you don't care about it. Doesn't mean you don't care that person quit. It just means that you're not going to have this emotional stewy reaction about this entire thing. So that I like so what, as another mindset.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that I bet any owner that gave those excuses you shared, my market's different, people don't buy personal training here, et cetera, et cetera. If I parachuted Vince into your gym and I took away his phone so he couldn't call anybody, and I took away his money, he would grow that gym. And all it remains is his knowledge, right? And so it's like, and his mindset. And so then the finger is now pointed at the owner to change their mindset, because anybody with a different mindset, and you take away all the resources and contacts, would grow it. The example I normally give is Elon Musk. I'm like, hey, you're in Bumble F nowhere, Kansas. Elon Musk takes over your gym. It grows because of his unstoppable mindset. He will not sleep literally until the gym is at the point that he wants it to be. He's just like psycho, right? And so it's like, where that's the mindset you got to develop. Like, the business often is like a mirror. It's a reflection of the owner, and it's where it's at because you are where you're at, right? And so, like, you grow, the business grows. That's the unlock. That's 9 times out of 10 what's holding it back. And sometimes there's a knowledge gap, like I just literally don't know what to do. But a lot of times it's those stories, those loops, those mindsets that are just like stopping the person, and they're just stuck because of that, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so I love that you shared all that. Those are very freeing if again, people are being growth minded, they receive them and they actually act on them, right?
Yeah.
Um, so let's talk about, like, again, the newer generation. There's going to be Gen Z gym owners coming through here pretty soon, and they're going to be using their Riz to sign up the clients and doing 6-week skibbity challenges and all these, 6-week these Gen Z terms that they say, right? So let's say you're back at square one. You are starting a new gym. What are the important decisions? You mentioned pricing earlier. Maybe it's small group. Like, what are those important decisions if you're starting a gym today that you would do if you had a clean slate, right? Like, no baggage, no way of doing things currently. How would you set up your gym?
So the first thing I would do is decide who the gym is for. And anytime anyone comes to me and wants to, like, because I've now gotten, the privilege to help people without businesses outside the gym space, right? And mostly it's friends and stuff like that, right? But I always ask the question. They always come to me and they're like, they're obsessed with their thing. They're obsessed with their thing. And I'm like, okay, that's great. But, like, who's going to buy the thing? And they're like, oh, I don't know. It's just like, that's the number one thing that I think needs to become the focus, is who is going to buy that thing. So that would be number one. And obviously you said it. Price would be, number two. The third would be, how are we going to acquire the new customers? What's the process that we're going to take to acquire these new customers? What's the process that we're going to take to convert the customers, right? What is the process, the sales process? And then the third one would be, how are we going to keep these people? What's your retention strategy? What are the things that we're doing? I don't think it necessarily changes very much. It's like, in a business, it's like, if you think about it, it's very mechanical. It's like, all right, we need a specific person that we're selling a specific thing to at a specific price, and we need to be able to keep that person paying us for as long as possible at the right price. And then we need to be not stupid with our money, so we can have some profit left over to be able to take some home to the family at the end of the day. So it's really like, it's not Gen Z, whatever. The mechanics of business aren't really going to change. The way you do business will, but in terms of, like, what is most important, what decisions need to be made, that those things I just mentioned aren't going to change. How you acquire customers, how you convert customers, how you keep customers, how you make the business profitably, those are all needed, what I call units, right? So my next book is basically going to be 3 units: getting clients, keeping clients, building cash. If you can get clients, if you can keep clients, and you can build cash, you're going to win in business.
Okay. What do you see coming up in the future? Again, as a guy that's been in it for decades, what has you excited that's coming down the pipeline that you think can be, again, beneficial to a gym owner in their business?
Yeah, I really think we're early in the small group training thing. I really do. I think that, I've been doing it for so long. Sometimes it seems like, oh, this could be the new thing. But I think it's like, I think the small group training thing is a really, really great model. And I think people can make a lot of money doing it. And I think you're just starting to see the Alloy personal trainings of the world. I mean, they're the first franchise. There's only really one franchise that's really doing it big, and that's Rick over at Alloy. There's going to be more of those coming, and a lot of my guys are scaling. I mean, I've got one of my guys has opened up 7 gyms in the last 2 years. So these things are definitely moving. So I think that there's that small group training model, but I also think that there's a future in, and if I ever opened up another gym, this would be it. There's the future in the very, very high end space of everything under one roof, and I'm not talking like everything like the pools and not like a lifetime thing, but like a personalized concierge service that has, lab work and doctors and good supplementation and really good nutrition. Somewhere where a high-end entrepreneur or a high-end person could go and get everything they needed and pay $50,000 a year to get all of their health markers to get everything set. So I think that there's a future in that too, but I think that's like a little, I know it's already starting. I think I know Equinox has a program like it, so it's already starting, but I don't know. I think that the small group training model is really just getting cooking, and I'm super excited about it. I feel like I wrote the first book on it. I'm sure there's going to be more books coming out, but I really do believe that the future is this premium service that is people can stay with for a long period of time, and that gyms can do it really profitably. It's kind of a win. If you really think about it, it's a win for both sides. It's like the client wins because they pay a lot less money, but they still get a great experience and a great service. And the trainer wins because they can do it way more profitably than they could for one-on-one.
Yes, absolutely.
And so I think it's a win across the board.
Love it. Yeah, that's how I started, and then I'm one of the people that fell for the trap of like going large group because you can make way more money and impact more lives and you can fit more people in there. And then my heart wasn't as excited as when I did small group training. And so when I went back to it, it definitely re-sparked my joy. And yeah, it's the perfect blend. It's the merge of large group and one-on-one personal training. And more clients can actually get a personal training like experience because you're doing it in a group model, right? And you're making it more affordable for the average Joe or Jane.
Yeah.
And I just looking at little micro trends, like the new generation coming up, they are more risk averse. Like you see, like the people who are scaling tend to had already a gym pre-COVID. And so like they don't mind throwing down and getting more leases. The new people coming up, they like the idea of a small footprint gym doing small group training, small space, small risk, but high upside. They're way more risk averse. They're not going to go and do like psycho expansion real quick. Like, so like I think it's going to it's going to be a perfect match of what the market wants and what the industry is bringing up. And so, yeah, I do see that as well. And, you're seeing less and less large group and hit style gyms opening at the volume. Like they're still opening, but nowhere near the volume they were 2010 to 2020. It was definitely a rocket ship. One mindset that kind of brings to mind when we were talking about that is just like owners still living here in 2024, going on 2025 in the COVID fog. Say, I can't ever able to rebuild from COVID. And like, we're way past that. Like you cannot as an excuse. So that's like what I always say is like the C word's out the window or what to do. Like you can't claim that anymore. Are you still hearing that? Do you still people use the C word around you as why their gym is not?
It's not nearly as much as I used to. I want to, I don't want to add theater to it and say, oh, every day is one of the, no, yeah, but I still once in a while people are mentioning it and stuff like that. And it goes back to the point, I made about responsibility. It's just like you can't control what happened. It's just like at the end of the day, you can only pick yourself up, move forward, from there. So yeah, I tell you, that was a tough, man. If you went through COVID as a gym owner, that was a tough time. Like I often like replay it back to my guys. I was like, hey, imagine this. There's this worldwide virus that happens and the government comes in and it tells you to shut your gym down and 50% of your clients cancel all in one day. It's just like, if you run through COVID and what it was, it is like, how the hell did we actually survive? Like, it's nuts. It's crazy to me. And I tell you, like, I had 2 companies in COVID. I had my gym and I had my consulting business. And, like, I'm watching both of them, like, crumble right before my eyes because I'm like, well, all my clients are terminating their membership. And then my gym clients, like, they're scared as hell. They're, like, gonna not their clients are doing the same thing. So I was like, I watched, like, 2 businesses. Obviously, we came back really strong and we helped a lot of people through COVID. But that was a crazy time. So I think any gym owner that's, like, went through that, like, you probably went through the worst thing that you're ever gonna go through. Like, I hope that that is. And that they should use it as a kind of a, a battle like a battle award or battle wound or whatever it is to be able to say, "All right, if that happened, I can handle this," so
Character building or it's character
yeah.
shaping, depending on how you look at it, right?
Yeah.
Um, well, I love it, Vince. You gave so much value. Thank you, dude. You brought the golden nuggets. Like, what are you have so many tools. I don't even know where to point them. What would you feel like is the most valuable thing for a gym owner to go look at right now?
Yeah, they could probably just get, a copy of my book. They can get a free copy if they go to smallgrouppersonaltraining.com. I'll give you the link in the show notes, but they get a free digital copy of that book. And actually, Audible is coming out. One of the worst experiences of my life was recording an audiobook. It was horrible. It was just, I don't know. Like, have you ever seen Rocky Balboa, the first or second one where he does the Beast aftershave commercial?
Yes.
Yeah, that was me. That was me for 6 hours. Um, the I the editor, because he wanted me to mark where I made mistakes, and I handed him, like, 5 pages of areas where I made mistakes. So for those of you that listen to the audiobook, you're welcome because that was painful for me. But yeah, they just go to smallgrouppersonaltraining.com, and then they can download the book for free, from there. And,
That's a marketing win, buying that .com and it was available. So good on you for that.
thank you.
But also we talked about you're having a wrestling theme live event for gym owners. I cannot let you leave without you mentioning that. So when is that?
Oh my God.
What are the
I'm so excited about this. It's gonna be, March 7th through 9th in Orlando, Florida. Basically, it's gonna be we do 3 events a year, but this is gonna be it's not gonna be a wrestling theme every year, but the title will stay the same as Gym Business Mania, but there'll always be, like, a kind of a fun theme to it, and the theme that I picked this year was professional wrestling. And basically, and here's the thing, and I wanted to talk to you about it because I know you wrestled for a long time. But there's so much to learn in the wrestling business. There's so much, and one of the things I talked about, like, earlier was, like, understanding your market. Well, there's no one that understands the market better than wrestlers because they have to go out and they have to win the crowd. That is the number one thing a wrestler needs to do is if they win the crowd, right? They're going to win and be successful in wrestling. And it's the same thing in our businesses. It's the same thing in that. So, yeah, it's gonna be incredible. We'll have a lot of shenanigans. I mean, they're gonna learn a ton about making money in their gym, but we're also gonna do it in a fun way where I have Kurt Angle. I hired Kurt Angle to be our keynote speaker, the former Olympic gold medalist, and we will have lots of shenanigans going on. So,
Love it.
can't wait. Yeah.
All right. Where could they go to learn about that? Where is those tickets available now?
It's funny, it's not available yet, but if they're interested in that, what they should do is just go get the book, and if they're on the book, they'll get on my email list, and then I'll be sending emails out as reminders about the event, so they'll get it from there.
All right, guys. Well, there you had it. We had a fitness business legend on the podcast today. And Vince, it was great to get to meet you and then also to just pick your brain and help our audience out. Thank you for adding value and everything you do to help the fitness industry.
Thanks, Dustin. You're doing great work yourself, and keep it up, man.
Thanks, brother. Gym owners, I want to officially invite you into my free Facebook group just for you. It's called Fitness Sales Made Simple. And essentially, I'm sharing free resources in there all the time to help you grow your business. Doesn't matter to me if you ever work with gym reinforcements, you can gather all kinds of cool content and tools and resources. We have free webinar trainings, free guides, free lead magnets, free scripts that you can send out to make sales. and it's all in the group. So go ahead and click on the link in the description and you could get inside and get these free tools. See you on the inside.